If you're an artist and you want to start your printing journey, watch this video because I'm going to try to help you out. Hi, my name is Via. I'm a Portuguese illustrator. If you already watch my videos, you already know a little bit about me, but if this is the first one you're watching from me, I basically have a stationery shop where I sell my product. I basically make most of my products in-house in my studio. I bought my first printer in 2020. I used to print things outside, but I got a little bit tired of things getting wrong, colors getting wrong, so I decided to get a printer. I'm going to talk a little bit of my experiences with that, making my own product. Everything that I'm going to say in this video can be very subjective and according to the different experiences that you have. I asked some questions on Instagram and here on YouTube, and I'm going to answer them along with this video. But first of all, let me show you what printer I use and everything that I have. So I got one A3 printer because I wanted to have that option for me to print notebooks and also A3 prints. So I got a Canon IX6850. I think they are still on the market, but they can be a little tricky to find. Mine at the time was 180 euros, which is kind of cheap for such a good printer, especially that it can print A3 plus borderless, so that's kind of amazing. And I can print 350 GSM paper with no issues, which was one of the things that I was looking into a printer. I thought about getting others, but there was a lot of inks that I had to buy, so I ended up deciding with this one because it only uses 3 colors and uses 2 blacks. The more the colors that you have on the printer, the more accurate you're going to get colors and the higher the quality, but sometimes it's not really necessary if you're not printing like very high demanding projects, like very big ones and like photography and all of that. Like for me and for my illustrations, this is more than enough. As I said, I have a stationery shop. I print most of my products. I print notebooks, notepads, stickers, even like in shrink plastic. Like I print a lot of things into a lot of materials and a lot of papers. And one of the questions that I had is, how can you do the products and make them profitable? Printers are expensive. It's not, it's hard to, you know, give 200 euros for a thing that you don't really know you're going to use if you are starting out and all of that. But I don't really use Canon inks. Oops. Yeah, that's why it's worthwhile for me. Basically, I get my inks from 4Print. It's like a Portuguese website. I'm not sure they ship outside of Portugal or not, but I'm going to leave the link in the description. My cartridges go to from like €1 to 120. I actually have 2 printers that are the same model, and at the time I was using in one only like original inks and in the other one non-original inks, and the quality and the colors were basically the same, so I ended up choosing not using original colors. And a lot of people ask me, well, are you not worried that the printer is going to break? And 2 things. I already have my printers for 3 years. I never had an issue, and as I was saying, I only used the original inks when I got the printer. Since then it was only non-original inks, so I never got an issue. And for the price of the inks, if you buy a pack, it's almost the same price as my printer. So for the amount of inks that are already used in these 3 years, I could already bought like 20, 30 more printers for the money that I saved. I don't really use a lot of inks, and I print a lot of products, and I actually have a bag with all the inks that I used since I moved into the studio in September 2021. Yeah, I saved them all. I'm just going to try to be more eco-friendly and try to see if I can find a company that will fill them up or recycle them. But I don't think for the amount of things that I print and the amount of products and all of that, with 2 printers, I don't think it's a lot of ink. If you're going to buy original inks, yes, it's going to be a lot more expensive, and you're going to have to add that to the final price of your product. You can ask, okay, but is it really worth it, or is it better for me to outsource? It's going to be your own decision because it's a lot of pros and cons within that. Because of getting my printer, I can control the colors, I can control the waste and the amount of waste that I have. Printer is expensive, but it's going to pay itself along the time, and you can also do less quantities, so I can just print one product, see how it goes, and if I don't sell it, I don't end up with like a large quantity of things that probably are going to take a long time to sell. Outsource them and save that time, because it takes a lot of time, especially with tryouts, when you change paper or you change materials and all of that, so keep that in mind. Think if you want an inkjet or a laser printer, because it's a big decision as well. There's a major pro to get an inkjet, and it's the price. Especially if you work with colors. A laser printer with colors, it's really expensive, the maintenance is expensive, and the inks, they are not ink. Where you get the colors, it's really expensive as well. So it's not only the investment of the printer, it's also the maintenance, the inks, and all of that. Before getting my printer, as I said, I used to print things outside. Like I would go to a printer shop, I would get my notebook covers printed, my stickers, and I actually had a little accident. Like I used to print my vinyl stickers outside, I used to cut them by hand, everything was fine, but then one summer I was sending those stickers out, the stickers got glued together. Like on inkjet, the ink it's put on the paper, but on a laser with heating evolve. So basically when there's heating and there's a lot of warmth, the ink is going to be activated, and that's how you do foiling and all of that. But basically the ink activated and then the stickers glue to each other because of like the warm weather. If you want to go to a laser printer and have like more vivid colors, and you can prefer that, but if you do that, maybe you'll have to laminate your products and incorporate some kind of thing like that, so that you can protect, and that doesn't happen. So this is going to be my warning for you. Yes, the laser printers, the quality and the colors are very, very beautiful, but you have the price and you have these types of things that you have to have in consideration. Okay, now you decided to get an inkjet. Going to get a normal inkjet with cartridges, or you're going to get an ecotank. I actually, not a lot of people know this, because at the time I wasn't really filming a lot. Some months before getting this printer that I have right now, the Canon PIXMA IX6850, I actually invested in an ecotank. I don't really remember the model. Yeah, I got it, and the next day I basically returned it. People prefer the ecotanks because they are more friendly for the environment, because you don't use cartridges, so it's a lot less plastic. But also the ink, it's a lot more expensive because you get them in bottles, which brings a lot of ink, and then you just fill the printer up. I do have an ecotank, but I only use it for sublimation. For sublimation, it's more than enough for me. The ink, it's cheaper. The companies will have to make the printers a lot more expensive to compensate that difference. To get a good ecotank or the same quality that you spend on a normal inkjet, like 200 euros, to get a good ecotank, you're going to be spending probably the double or even more than that. I know the same quality that I wanted for this printer, I spent 180 euros, and for the same quality and sizing, like for A3 prints and all of that, it was like 600 euros. So it's a big difference in the investments. Yes, you're going to save on ink. So right now, probably the price difference, it's not that big. Normally the cheapest ecotanks, like the one that I have, it's the 2711, and I can't really print borderless even in A4, and it's really hard to get the settings right. So yeah, if you have that extra money to spend, maybe you can go to an ecotank because of the things that I mentioned. But if you really have a tight budget, maybe go to a normal inkjet, and it will be a lot cheaper, and the quality will be within the same price range, at least for what I know. You got the printer, you chose the printer, everything is great, you already spent your money, you got the printer home, now what? The first thing you're going to do, it's really important to install the driver. You can just go on Google, search for your printer model, go to the website. If you don't have that, it's going to be a bit harder to access the settings and being able to change all of that, so you can get the colors right and all of that. Once you have that ready, it's going to be an headache. I'm not going to say it's easy. I lost a lot of paper and ink just trying to figure out settings and all of that. And even if you figure out a setting for a certain type of paper, you always have to do tests if you're going to use other paper. You're just going to have to do this once, but it's going to take a while to, you know, get the colors ready and all of that. No correct paper. It really depends on the colors that you're going to use, but it's going to be different on the paper that you use for stickers. And especially if you go from glossy to matte paper, it's going to be a big difference, and you're going to have to play around with settings. I'm going to show you the settings that I use. Keep in mind that I use a MacBook, so it can be a little bit different, but I actually filmed and shared the settings that I used to use on my PC, so I'm going to put the video in the description so you can check that out. So yeah, I'm going to tell you the settings that I use, show you a couple of profiles that I have saved, and maybe you can reuse those settings and try them out for yourself, but it really depends on the papers that you are going to use. I have my like a notebook cover here. This is an A3 file. Always print in Photoshop because it's easier for me to play around with settings. I can always go to the adjustments here and add a little bit of brightness or more contrast, but you can print it normally or just use another like editing software. I click print. This is the settings that I have. Right now here on my Mac, I always put on the color handling printer manages colors, but I remember when I used my PC, I always have to put Photoshop manages colors and then choose one of the printer profiles here. I have two printers together with my home printer and my sublimation printer. Yeah, this is what I have here. Basically, I have all of these profiles already saved. As you can see, I have the A3 borderless for wrapping paper, for prints, for envelopes, for my line paper, because I do line paper for my notebooks and I print it myself as well. For my sublimation, for my stickers. So basically you can save all of this and then just basically reuse it. For this is a notebook cover, so I just use the A3 borderless option. You can also choose the sizes of the paper that you want. What you can do to really bring the quality to life and to figure out the settings that you need, and this was a lot of work for me because when I got this printer for the specific colors that I want, it was printing a lot of red. I didn't want that much red in my prints, so I would go to these settings, and this is where you play around to really put the printer with the colors that you want figured out to your type of work, because it can really depend. If you use more like bluish tones, it's going to depend. If you use more blacks, you're going to might use different settings that I have. So yeah, it's just really important just to play around, do tests as I said, and just trying to figure out which ones are the best. I'm going to show you what I have. So in color compatibility, I have correspondence with Canon colors. This is in Portuguese, I'm sorry. Here it's just like basic stuff, and this is like the main thing for me. This is the important stuff. This is where you play the amount of each color that you're going to want in your printer. I play around with these settings over here until I got the colors that I wanted, and I never played with this again. I just basically try to go out on Photoshop instead of playing around with this. This is always fixed for me. And yeah, normally what I do is I go to the brightness. I always have it in lighter, but again, if you use like darker tones, very like with a lot of blacks and stuff, maybe it will be better to you to have normal or dark here on the brightness, but for me it works better on the lights, and then intensity as well, and the contrasts as well. So basically I can just go here. If I use a new type of paper, I might go here and play with this intensity, the contrast and the brightness, but normally the colors, I never touch them. But yeah, that's basically the most important thing about playing around with settings, is going to this part of the settings and trying to figure out which works better for you and for your type of work. The quality of media, it's also important. I normally, because I always use matte paper, not only for stickers but also like for my notebooks and all of that, I always use it in matte photo paper right here, and I always use it on the quality high. So yeah, that's how you get the high quality prints. Just keep in mind, at least for this specific printer, when I use the printer in borderless, the colors are dark, so maybe just keep that in mind and save a different profile. Yeah, that's how I play around with the settings. That's what I couldn't do on that ecotank that I got. It was very basic, so that's why I needed a printer that allowed me to do all of these things. And let the fun begin. Let's talk about papers. I'm not going to talk about all the papers that I'm used, because I use different ones for printers, for my notebook covers, for my bookmarks, for my stickers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a list in the description with all the products that I use, as well as the thickness of the paper, the brand, and all of that, so you can search that out. It will help a lot if you use the links that I leave in the description, because they are affiliate links, so I get a small percentage of those sales with no extra cost to you. I really hope that helps and will help you minimize the costs and maybe the amount of paper that you're going to use, because it's a bit tricky to also get good papers. So I really hope that helps. Just keep in mind that the papers that work for me might not work for you. I had a lot of cases that the colors that I use are bright in a paper, but other artists that use like darker colors are not going to be look good in the paper that I use. Yeah, just try things out and see what work and not for you. That's the trickiest part. And if you go on the route of, you know, finding them yourself, you're going to put that work in and those hours and trying new things. But as I said, it's just one-time thing, and then you can just reuse that knowledge and just keep doing products. You just have to not waste, but use that time in the beginning to get all of those things sorted. Those posts that I made while researching for this video, I also got some questions about sublimation, if it is worth it and all of that, but I think I'm going to leave that for another video where I'm just going to talk just about sublimation, and if you are interested in that, please let me know in the comments so that I know that it will be a nice video to post. To end this video over here, I know it's not a lot of information, but I really hope it still help you out in some way. As I said, printing stuff, the papers, even the printer that you use, it's very subjective, because it really depends on what you want from it. Yeah, please let me know in the comments if you have any other questions. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't, leave a like, all of those kind of things. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye! Bye!